Good afternoon. Glad you're with us this afternoon. Plenty of news developing already. We start with the former City of Tshwane Mayor, Murunwa Makwarela, being released today on 10,000 rand bail after being arrested. The case postponed until the beginning of May. Makwarela, he occupied the office of mayor for just 1 week, was forced to resign after he submitted a fraudulent certificate of rehabilitation after being declared an insolvent.
I postponed this matter as arranged and is transferred to Court 19. The date is the 2nd day of May 2023. It's for disclosure of the contents of the docket. The prosecution will give the contents of the docket to the defense, and for you, Mr. Makwarelas, to discuss the matter or the content of the docket with your legal representative and give instructions as to the way forward, as to how the matter should be handled further. The order of the court, after having said so, is to also indicate that bail, as indicated before, is granted at an amount of 10,000 rand, which should be payable to the clerk of the court, which is payable to the clerk of the court, Magistrate Pretoria, prior to the release of the applicant. The accused is to attend court on every date starting from the 2nd of May 2023 in Court 19, 8 hours in the morning, and on every date and every place at which this matter would have been postponed.
Our reporter Govan Whittles in court for you this afternoon. An important story goes to the heart of some of the qualifications that one is supposed to have, quite limited qualifications, to be a councillor and a mayor. Govan Whittles with us now. Govan, good afternoon to you. What did Murunwa Makwarela, I mean, from mayor back to councillor, back to resigning from everything, now in charges of fraud, what did he say in court?
Well, he says that he's completely focused on his job as an apostle of his church. He's left the council in the city of Tshwane, but importantly, he intends to plead not guilty. And that is important because for a while there, we thought that he had admitted that he had committed fraud here. That was based on social media posts that came out immediately after it was revealed by the Office of the Chief Justice that the certificate he submitted was a fake. We're hearing now from his aides that he didn't author that tweet himself, that it may have been sent out by his officials. This tweet was read out in court by the state advocate, Willem van Zyl, who's prosecuting Makwarela. They're going to use it as evidence. And the fact that he intends to plead not guilty while having that piece of information out on social media is going to come up in the trial. Of course, today was just a bail application. It was the first time we'd seen him since he's resigned as everything. We took a chance, asked him a few questions, managed to film him on the cell phone. Let's take a look at what he had to say.
Let us not preempt the judge. There's justice in this country.
Where did you get that letter from?
No. You're not the judge.
How have the last few weeks been, Mr. Makwarela?
It has been a blessing. Scriptures coming into play as an apostle. I count it all joy when I fall into diverse of temptations.
Were you tempted to forge that letter?
Quoting a scripture.
Okay, so he says he's essentially sort of focusing on his church, on his beliefs. Govan, I mean, on one level this is just a fraud case. But he was the mayor of Tshwane. He took the oath of being a councillor and of mayor after being elected in. He took that oath knowing that he didn't qualify. So, I mean, for the NPA, this is probably quite a serious case.
It is. It's a Schedule 5 offence. I mean, there are only 6 schedules. It's being investigated by the Hawks' Serious Crimes and Corruption Unit. They've got a colonel conducting the investigation here. And it's clearly being regarded as one of the more high-profile cases for the fact that the city of Tshwane had paid him a 1.4 million rand salary over the cumulative time when he was brought into council since 2022. So he came in initially on a normal councillor salary. Then he received the speaker's salary for a year. And then he was about to receive a salary for the mayor. Of course, he only lasted 7 days, so that never kicked in. But that's the reason why they consider this a very serious case. And again, he says in that tweet that he was misled by Dr. Mayepa and Lesego Makubela. That's who he blamed immediately after it was revealed that he wasn't rehabilitated from insolvency. He blamed the ANC. But he's been charged here not only for taking up the position of mayor while being an insolvent, but for failing in his legal duty to declare that he wasn't rehabilitated at the inception of his appointment as councillor. Well, COPE says they vetted him, but first let's take a look at what the NPA had to say about the seriousness of this case and how they're approaching it.
A Schedule 5 offence is a serious offence. This is made serious by the amount of money that he received while he was still employed as a councillor and also as the Speaker of the City of Tshwane. At this point, you cannot preempt what will happen in court. The matter, as you know, that was postponed to the 2nd of May for the disclosure of the docket and for consultation. So thereafter, when the trial is starting, then we will know if ever he will still maintain that he wants to repay or what's going to happen. So at this point, I cannot confirm that.
Okay, so the NPA taking it very seriously. It's interesting that he's blaming people from other parties for this. I mean, he must take responsibility, of course, for his own actions.
He should, and what he's doing is saying he was misled to accept the nomination for the position of the mayor of Tshwane. The problem arose from the inception when he was first nominated by COPE to be a councillor. We asked COPE whether they'd vetted him properly. Look, they faced this question before, and similarly, today they've palmed it off again, saying that they believe that he was vetted, as if that vetting happened by another structure somewhere else that had nothing to do with the city of Tshwane. Essentially, Dr. Makwarela's political career is over here. You could tell in his demeanor today in court that he's completely shifted away from the attention that a politician would usually have. He also claims in his bail application that this case isn't causing much outrage, that people aren't outraged by it. There's only a fair amount of public interest. Interestingly, he didn't want the media to broadcast this bail application, saying that if it was broadcast, it wouldn't be a private affair anymore. So he clearly does consider himself now to be a private individual, while having been a public figure all along. But of course, he's not part of COPE anymore. Needless to say, COPE's regional spokesperson was in court, not as a COPE spokesperson, but as a friend of the family. It's a really interesting affair. Let's have a look at what he had to say.
Look, the authenticity of that document is a subject that is now before the court. I think on that one, let us give the court the space to ventilate on the matter, and it will arrive at a decision whether that document was authentic or not. Because you must remember that that document, when it was sent through, it came purported to be that of Dr. Makwarela. But as it is now a matter of a subject before the court, let us give the court space and time to deal with the matter, and we will get to the bottom of it.
Govan, I mean, there's so many different elements to all of this. I mean, I think many people will probably believe that there's likely to be other people who are not qualified to be councillors, who are in fact councillors due to the fact that they are unrehabilitated insolvents. It is a fraud case. He did receive money for quite a long time as a councillor. There's a lot to it all.
There is. One thing it's led to is the opposition parties in the Tshwane Council now say, well, EFF to be specific, they demand the ID number of anyone that they plan to nominate before they nominate them. And then the first thing that they're going to check for is that this person is not an unrehabilitated insolvent. And they're calling it a secret that the DA kept about Dr. Makwarela, that they were fooled by, according to the EFF and the ANC, and they vowed they won't let it happen again. But it certainly has opened the eyes of political parties, particularly at local government level, where these things have seemed to creep in. But as this plays out, there is also another qualification scandal involving the Minister of Department of Public Service and Administration, Nokolo Kivet. We're still yet to see whether she had legitimately obtained her qualification from Fort Hare.
Govan Whittles, thank you very much indeed. Our reporter on that story. Well, interesting to see how that all plays out. Other news.